there. So I am not in the garden right now because I actually just ran into like just a big box store, just Home Depot, to grab some light bulbs. But I found a few seed packets as well because they're starting to put out their spring seeds. I think we're starting to get that time of year. I picked up a few seeds actually for a project for my parents' garden, and I thought I would talk through what I got because I think it might be interesting to some of you who are looking to put together like a little container garden to grow some salad greens and things like that. So Mom and Dad, I don't think you're watching, but if you are, maybe go ahead and don't watch this one because this is going to be a gift. But anyways, if you have like a patio and you want to grow some greens, for example, my parents have a lot of shade in their yards. They do a lot of shade gardening, but they wanted to grow some greens in some containers on their patio just to have something fresh and something homegrown. And I am such a big supporter of container growing. As you know, I do a lot of container growing, and I grow a lot of greens and things like that in containers. It's a great way if you want to have a little salad, maybe some herbs, something just fresh out of the garden for your kitchen and cooking. You can do that really nicely from containers. So I picked up some seeds just from that local box store that would be great for a container garden. I'm going to give them these seeds as a gift. And then I also thought I would tell you a few other things that I've grown in containers, some good options that you could grow as well. This was just kind of a small assortment to get them started. So the first one is some collard greens. As you know, right now in my garden, I have collard greens growing. If you've seen any of my like tours or anything, they're super winter hardy green, really yummy. You can eat these both as like little baby greens just in a salad. You could throw it kind of like in a salad mix, but you can also grow collard greens and let them get a little bit bigger, which you could do in a container. You just need to do like 1 or 2 plants in a container. They say here, I think a 12-inch container for like 1 plant. And you can do bigger leaves. You can obviously make like traditional collard greens. I like to do wraps with collard greens and stuff them with like peppers and sausage, rice. You can make some really yummy kind of wraps. So this variety is just the Georgia Southern Creole. I don't have personal experience growing this variety, but it says, you know, just the traditional kind of collard green, dark green blue stemmed plants and full of lots of vitamins. So a really pretty decorative kind of plant as well. I've actually been really enjoying the collard greens that I have growing in my garden right now. I feel like they're just a really pretty plant too. Kind of have a cabbage look, but without like that big cabbage head. So really gorgeous. And that's one of my thoughts with this kind of collection of seeds as well, is that these are going to be really pretty and really nice decorative plants on their patio, in addition to being something that they can eat. So with that in mind, one of the most beautiful kales, I think, and one that's growing super well in my garden right now. I have some of this. It's really beautiful, a really gorgeous color, and that's lancenato kale. So it's got like that blue color. It has these sort of more, I guess, slender leaves that are kind of tall and thin, and they have this really pretty color. So something a little bit different in look than the collard greens that will be just really beautiful, really delicious. Mine are super cold hardy. I lost a bunch of things in that winter freeze that we got over the Christmas break, but my lancenato kale and my collard greens both handled that cold super well. So you could also start these in a fall garden. And if you're in a zone like mine, I'm zone 7, you could grow them all winter in your containers as well. Then I got some lettuce. So all kinds of lettuces grow really well in containers. You can do just about any kind that you want. I picked a romaine style lettuce because I know they're going to be starting these in the spring, and I want their lettuce containers to be able to last as long into the summer as possible. And romaine tends to be a better seed for lasting into the heat. Typically, romaines tend to have a better heat tolerance. So I picked up Paris Island Cos romaine. I actually don't know anything about this variety as well, other than that it's a romaine, so it'll probably have a better heat tolerance. Yeah, it says withstands warm weather better than most lettuces. So that's what I was going for with this. And yeah, large spoon-shaped leaves fold into upright, loose heads, 8 to 9 inches tall. I think this will be perfect for a container. 68 days to harvest. Just a really nice yeah, a nice thing. They can get that started and hopefully have some nice harvests before the main heat of the summer. Then I had to get them probably my favorite green of all time. I love arugula. It grows so well as baby greens in containers. You just throw a bunch of arugula seeds into the soil in a container. It sprouts super quickly. It's always like the first thing to germinate, for me anyways. When I do containers like this, it's always the first thing to germinate. It always grows really well. I can even start it in a little bit more heat than some of the other greens, although it does, like any of these kind of cool weather greens, it'll bolt. So it's a really nice, yeah, this is just kind of like the traditional arugula. There wasn't any kind of interesting variety here. I do believe this is rock cut, so I think it's like a little bit more of like the wild arugula, I think. But yeah, it's really fun. Okay, then I grabbed the last like green that I grabbed was some spinach. Bloomsdale Longstanding Spinach is a really, really great, really hearty spinach. And I'm trying to see if there's anything. Yeah, it's just like a really good classic spinach. So I got them that, and spinach tends to grow really well in containers too. They are in a more northern zone than me, so they have cooler spring, and that'll be perfect for a spinach like this. So I thought that would be really great and a really quick harvest. So to get baby greens, everything 45 days, like that'll be really rewarding and really nice when you're doing a container garden in the spring and you just want everything to like get started. I think that'll be perfect. Then I got a couple other seeds, a little bit different categories, but things that you can grow. This is for me. I just got myself some sage, some broadleaf sage, but I am going to grow it in a container. I have one of those green stalk tower planters, and so I'm going to put this broadleaf sage in here. I like to make a maple bacon sage butter turkey at Thanksgiving, and last year I grew my sage for it, and I plan to do that again. But that's not for there. Well, they'll be eating the Thanksgiving turkey, hopefully, so they will enjoy that sage. They just won't be growing it in their garden. But okay, so herbs grow really well in containers. I'm sure you've probably seen container gardens with herbs. So I picked up this extra triple curled parsley. I thought that was kind of cute. It was one of the recommended container varieties, and I thought that would be really fun. Parsley grows super well in containers. Most herbs do, because most herbs are pretty hardy. They usually handle a little bit of, like drought. Like if you forget to water your container super well, they handle that pretty well. Now, I would say like your lettuces, you want to stay on top of watering your containers, but herbs do pretty well for like a long season in containers. You can grow all kinds of things, but I thought this would be fun for them. And I think in my experience, parsley does pretty well with cooler temperatures. I'm thinking it'll do okay in the part shade. Typically, all of these tend to be more like full sun plants, but because they're also a little bit more of cooler plants, like cool weather plants, they'll get started when all of the leaves are still barely on the trees. That's when my parents will be able to plant these out. And once they get bigger in the summer, the leaves will fill in more and provide more shade, but that'll actually provide cooler temperatures for these plants, and they'll probably do okay. I've grown all of these kinds of things in part shade, and they've done just fine. I mean, maybe they grow a little slower and don't quite mature quite as big as they would in a full sun environment, but I've never had an issue with anything like this growing in kind of like a part shade. And then the last thing I got is one of my favorite container plants. I'm going to be doing a few more containers with bunching onions in my own garden because I love bunching onions. So these are just an evergreen bunching onion, kind of a traditional green onion bunching onion, and they also do fine in part shade. They do really well in containers, so I think they'll be perfect for my parents' garden. And I think these will be all great things to just kind of get them started. They can mix some of the greens together and make like their own little salad mix if they want to grow them together, or they can grow them each individually in a container. There's a lot of really great options with these kinds of seeds. Other things that I would consider adding to like a beginner salad garden, container salad garden, would be Swiss chard. That does really well in heat. So if you're in a much warmer environment, Swiss chard would be a great one to grow in a container because it can handle heat a lot better. peas, like a dwarf pea variety that doesn't need staking, or you could put a trellis in your container, but even if you don't have a trellis, a pea would be excellent to grow in containers. Green beans would be something. Once some of these start to kind of peter out, they could put in green beans. That would be perfect, and you could add those again to a salad. There are all kinds of container tomatoes, so kind of even branching off if you want to get into like other parts of your salad. You know, there's container tomatoes, container peppers, container cucumbers, all kinds of varieties that you can grow. But for a salad, Swiss chard, peas, you can eat pea shoots, or you can do the peas. I have also, I'm trying to think, I've grown kind of the butterhead lettuces and anything like that. Those would do really well in a containers too. And you could also do, if you wanted to have like bok choy to throw into your salad, you could do bok choy or mustard greens. Those could also be in a little salad containers. You could grow them for baby greens or for bigger heads as well. And it just depends how many seeds you put in each container. If you sprinkle a bunch of seeds in the container, you'll get more baby greens. And if you do like more individual plants, then obviously you can get the heads and bigger heading varieties. I like to do like baby greens in containers for the most part. I just sprinkle a bunch of seeds. It makes a really nice, full, lush looking container. It's not going to grow on maybe as long, and I usually grow them so densely that they're not going to actually end up forming heads, but they're really delicious, and I just like to eat baby greens as salad in general. So these are a few options. You can get them, you know, these kind of varieties, as I said, just at any big box store, and really get started with a delicious container salad garden anytime you want. It's a super fun thing to do. If you haven't grown lettuce in containers, I mean, I tell everyone they should, because I think it's just a really fun way to grow lettuce, and it keeps your lettuce and your greens really clean, which is nice as well, because you don't get quite as much splashback from the soil like in a bed. So hey there, good evening. It is the next day. Speaking of container lettuce, these are containers that I've grown a lot of container lettuce in the past in, and will be definitely growing more lettuce in them as well. The remnants of what were one of my containers full of lettuce. I'll see if I can find a picture of when this had lettuce in it, because it was really beautiful, but the lettuce did not survive the cold. So now I just have kale and some violas in here. But two kind of great containers if you're starting one of these container gardens with lettuce. You don't even need super tall, big containers, because lettuce has really shallow roots, so these like little containers are great. I'm just out in the garden right now. It is evening, the sunlight is beautiful. We had a sunny day, which is always just so lovely. I love getting out right at this, you know, this is that like what they call magic hour. So beautiful. So I'm just trying to enjoy the garden. I did pop into the unheated greenhouse, and I have my little like winter sowing experiment. It's working. I can officially say our first seeds are sprouting. So check this out. This is so cool. Look at those seedlings. So these are the bachelor buttons. They're the first ones to start to sprout, and then I'm trying to think, I don't think anything else. Yeah, I don't think anything else is sprouting yet. How exciting is that? So much fun. I'm so happy to see those coming up. That means we will at least maybe have some bachelor buttons here in the spring. I will probably have to go in and thin out those seedlings because I plan to keep them in the trays in the unheated greenhouse for the most part until I plant them out. But at least something is sprouting, so that's always exciting. Yeah, other than that, oh my gosh, I'm freezing. I hope the camera isn't shaking too much. It's gotten chilly again, so that's kind of taken down some of I haven't been doing quite as many garden projects right now, and I'm a little bit of a lull. I started those seedlings, and I have more seedlings I want to start, but I don't really have anything to start right now here till February really. So now it's just about coming out here and enjoying the perfect lighting. It's so beautiful. Anyways, I just wanted to kind of share those little updates because I was so excited to see bachelor buttons coming up, and I wanted to let you know, if you saw my video, that it worked. At least at least it started to work. We'll see how the bachelor button continue to do, but I think that greenhouse it's been storing up heat really well, and it's been keeping, you know, staying above freezing in there. So I think all the little seedlings should be just fine. We really don't have much like cold weather coming up. We got that really intense cold snap over the holidays, and then now looking at the extended forecast, all of our daytime highs are like well above freezing, which is good for like a little greenhouse like this, because it, you know, will help store heat and make sure it really heats up in there during the day. And even though we have nights, we have some cool nights, but we have nothing like no intense cold and no snow on the forecast or anything like that. So we'll see how everything does. But anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you in the next video. Bye bye.